So let me give a brief introduction, then you can carry on. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the sixth and the last lecture of Paraspar Sutradhar series. In this series, as some of you might be knowing, we had invited individuals who have pursued unconventional career paths after and beyond academia. To close this series, we have today Dr. Ranjini Krishnan. Ranjini, we welcome you. To give a brief introduction of today's speaker, Dr. Ranjini Krishnan is a soap maker, filmmaker, homemaker, and change maker based out of Kochi, Kerala. Ranjini holds a doctoral degree in cultural studies, and her work falls into gender, culture, and psychology. She is the founder of the sustainable skincare brand Body Tree and is the co-founder of the production house Tropical Cinema. Ranjini is the writer and producer of the national award-winning documentary A Pestering Journey, released in 2011, and is the co-script writer of the movie Kanya Talkies, released in 2013, which won the award for the best screenplay in New York Indian Film Festival. She has also directed an experimental film, Daughters of Scheherazade, released in 2020, based on her doctoral work. Ranjini, we welcome you and request you to deliver your lecture.
Thank you, Dr. Paraspar. Thank you for this wonderful platform and for the kind words. And thank you all for joining this afternoon to listen to my unconventional journey. I think every journey is unconventional when we look from their own perspective. Anyway, as some of you might have noticed that the things which I've been doing, there is not much connection. So, and I am not planning to force any connection. I mean, we all say that the connection should emerge, right? We have to connect the dots, but I think the connection, it will take some more time, but I can see some patterns, broadly some patterns emerging, and I can tell you that that journey, that is, and if the connection is perceivable, I'm happy. Even if it is not, I hope it will be, it'll emerge in future. It all started with a documentary. I was doing my PhD at CIISc Bangalore during this period, 2009-10, that period, and my partner, who is a filmmaker, he made a documentary called A Pestering Journey. And this documentary is a travel through two pesticide tragedies in post-independent India. One is the endosulfan tragedy in the Kasaragod district of Kerala, and the second one is the tragedy in the cotton fields in the Bhatinda region of Punjab. And why we call this tragedy? Because there is unimaginable human suffering involved in these two instances of pesticide exposure. And initially, since I'm talking to the scientific community, initially no one knew that the pesticides were causing this issue. We all believed that science is going to help us at this point, and we are going to control the pests, and we'll be living happily with the invention of pesticides. But in the case of the fields of plantations of cashew plantations in Kasaragod, this is a state-owned plantation. What happened was that they were spraying endosulfan, the pesticide endosulfan. It was aerial spray. So it's not that, it's not a controlled kind of, just one plant. No, it was not like that. An entire plantation was aerially sprayed with this pesticide, and slowly, initially there was no reported problems, but slowly problems started emerging. The rate of babies with anomalies, genetic anomalies, that was increasing, and cancer was increasing. Cancer patients, the number of cancer patients were increasing, and people were confused, and there was nobody was able to figure out why this was happening. And it was a primary health center doctor and a journalist who, some of you might be familiar with this issue. These two people were very played a key role in bringing out this issue to the larger world. And as usual, there were so many things involved, and uh, the scientific community resisted that. I mean, they cannot, though science is always open to evidence, in practice, this is one community that is very resistant to evidence and change. So they said these pesticides are safe and it cannot cause this issue. So it was actually an NGO from a group of scientists from Philippines. It was invited by an NGO in Kerala. These scientists created that they conducted field study and they collected samples. They created that empirical data that is necessary to create the causal link between the pesticide exposure and the increase of cancer patients and genetic anomalies in the next generation of babies. So this is from where Kerala was getting. There were so many discussions during that time about the harmful effects of getting exposed to pesticides and all. And while during this time, we also came across a paper report that says that in the Bhatinda region of Punjab, there is a train called Cancer Train. It's running between Bhatinda and Bikaner. Where Bikaner is the closest place where you can find a regional cancer center. So half of the patients who are traveling in this by this train are cancer patients, and half of them are their bystanders. So they were calling it the Cancer Train. So we thought, what is the connection between these two incidents? I mean, it's happening in two different parts of India, and we thought we could find that this is actually the one of the. I'm not saying this is the effect of Green Revolution, but this is one of the effects of Green Revolution, that we were moving to mass produced kind of, I mean, we were rewriting the codes of agriculture. We were exposing our soil and our plants and our water bodies to huge level of chemicals, and we had no idea what uh, how to do this also. And in the case of Bhatinda, the laborers, they were wage laborers. They were not even farmers. I mean, they didn't own the they don't own the land. I mean, it's still happening there. They were bonded, a kind of bonded labor. I mean, they came to the field, they passed, that entire generation was wiped out by the age of 40, 45, but by the time their kids were on the field, and that generation too, uh, that generation is no more now, and it's their kids who are in the fields. So this is, this is a cyclical process of human suffering, and these people are not using any kind of safety gears. You can see that that they are not using respiratory mask or gloves or any goggles or anything. They are exposing themselves to this spray, and they get it to their respiratory system is getting exposed to it. And I mean, at the end of the day, by the age of 40, all of them are sick. All of them have one or the other forms of cancer. So, while we were doing this documentary, we have actually traveled through these places, and while processing this footage, it was a very traumatic experience for the people who have worked in this documentary, because we were witnessing human suffering, and we have to revisit it every day. Like, you are revisiting the footage and you are deciding which one should go. And finally, we took a pause. We have decided, what are we doing? Can we show these, I mean, these are the evidences, right? I mean, we all need evidence. So should we show this or should we not? What is our, I mean, how to witness human suffering, and what are we becoming in the process? So in that documentary, we took a step back, and we have tried to ask, what is culture, what is agriculture? Because when we say something is a pest, we are sort of legitimizing that killing, and we are no longer worried about the web of life and the biodiversity and the kind of violence we are inflicting upon other forms of life. It's a very anthropocentric kind of thinking that is leading us there. So we took the question one step back, and we made a culture question out of it, and that is the question which Western Journey is following. It's more than documenting two pesticide tragedies. We are trying to ask the question: what is culture and what is agriculture, and what is the relation between these two, and what are state policies doing in this, and what is the scientific community doing in this, and what is science after all? And these were some of the questions we have tried to ask in the work. And in my personal life, during the same time, I gave birth to my son, and I was so aware of the harmful effects of chemicals, and I used to go through the ingredient label of every single product I selected for him. So what I've realized is that I'll take a complex chemical name to the Google, and I realized that, okay, this is a non-carcinogen. This is okay in India. This is not okay in Europe. You can find hundreds of chemicals like this in the personal care formulations. This is not okay in Europe, but this is okay in India. So I have started asking this question myself: why is it so? What is cosmetic industry doing? And also, this was kind of this is the kind of perspectival change that happened. That's why I've named this talk From Soil to Skin, that we get exposed to chemicals in a major way through these intimate exposures. I mean, farm is a large-scale exposure, but with in our daily life, with our cleaning habits, it could be from the kitchen, it could be the house cleaning equipments, products, it could be the personal care products. So this was the time when I thought I wanted to do something there, and I have started making soaps for my my son. I made my first batch when he was 1 year old, I think. Yeah, not one, just before that, in 2014, 14, yeah, 14. And then I haven't looked back after that. I mean, I had no plans to make it a business, but I was also doing my PhD then. And trust me, soap making is a huge stress buster. So I used to make soap almost every other day to de-stress myself from the pressure of academic writing and finishing of meeting deadlines and all. So by the end of my PhD, I had soaps everywhere in my house, under the cupboard, under the wardrobe, under the coat, everywhere, small little pieces of soaps, my experimental batches. So that's from where I started. I first started Body Tree as a Facebook page, and then slowly from there, it was natural growth. And when we say natural growth, it's very slow. That's the meaning of it. And we are not putting any money for marketing, and there is no proper marketing plan. No MBA brains are behind it. So it's a very, very slow growth, and but growth nonetheless. Uh, so when I look back in the past 6 or 7 years, Body Tree, it was a sapling. Now it has some more branches. It is not even a tree. But the idea behind Body Tree, I think, is very relevant in our country, because we are facing toxic lakes. And almost all water bodies are polluted, contaminated, and with each wash, we are polluting it again and again with synthetic detergents. And I mean, I know most of you are familiar with, I mean, more familiar than me with the harmful effects of chemicals, and you might be able to tell me what are those chemicals that are actually harmful to environment. So mine is a very humble attempt to uh, create safe and sustainable skincare products. And in this process, and there are two ways of looking at this. You can either consider it as what is the big deal and what is the change which you are making by creating some personal care products, because pollution is happening from industrial pollution is the major pollution, and what are you changing? That is one way of looking at it, and I'm not saying that that's not a valid perspective at all. No, I agree with you that industrial revolution is the major cause. I mean, our very relation with the environment has changed with that, and perhaps we cannot even easily go back also. And another perspective is, okay, whatever little things you are doing is contributing to this major. I mean, it's the butterfly effect kind of an argument where even those small little things add up to create big shifts. So I would like to believe in the second. I'm a proponent of the second position, that it could be a very small step, but a step nonetheless. So body tree is a step in that direction, and there is a rupture. That's why I began with the uh, observation that you might not be able to find a proper connection emerging out of it, because my work, my doctoral work, is in gender and psychology, and you cannot find the connection between these two. But when we talk about well-being in general, I think it has helped me to think. I mean, I haven't given up on that career. Body tree is helping me to ask certain questions that I'll be able to ask only if I am pursuing it as an independent researcher. Uh, so for me, these dots are connected, but some of the dots are still there. I mean, they are not yet integrated fully, and I hope in the coming years it will be integrated. So this is the story of body tree, which I would like to share with you. And if there are questions, we can reflect upon other points which you think are relevant. It shouldn't be my perspective, I think. So this is it.
Thank you, Ranjini. I'll ask a few questions just to initiate the discussion, and we can take question and answers for questions from the audience after that. So my first question is, could you delve a little into and reflect on your thought process on why you chose this career path rather than say teaching? I mean, most of us after finishing our PhD, we take up teaching, which is I mean, we think it is the most conventional way after finishing your PhD. Why did you choose not to do that?
Very interesting question, Vitasa, and I think I'll have to give you a slightly personal answer, because that is and I believe in those points where we are confused, where we don't have a proper answer, proper presentable answer. So I will share my confusions. I mean, the confusions I faced as a young researcher. My work falls into a domain called critical psychology, which is an emerging discipline, and I'm not a mainstream psychologist who is into clinical practice or anything. I'm trying to ask certain questions related to Indian culture, and if there is an Indian psyche, that my question relates to that. So. To be frank, I had no clue where to house my further research, and there are not this was my perception. Okay, I'm not saying that there are no place in India, so that's why I said it's a very personal kind of perception that I had. I didn't know where to house my research at that time. I had a very as a young mom, I was also confused about. I mean, these are certain points which we never discuss, but academia prefers women who have mobility, who are free, who can spend. I mean, this. I'm not saying that these are unrealistic expectations, or they should exempt us from these things. No, I'm not making that argument. But academia sometimes is very demanding for a young mother. So I was not ready to relocate from a place where I was, and that is one of the reasons where I was rethinking all the career options at that time. And also I wanted a kind of break from what I was doing. I'm not saying people who are getting straight away into teaching are I mean, this is nothing against them, but I was not ready for that. I wanted time to reflect upon my own research, and it's only now that I am able to think about a book project out of my uh, thesis. And as you know, I have created an experimental documentary out of my thesis, and those were the confusions which I was not even able to write down as formal arguments. Like, I propose, I argue, I draw, depart, the social science language. I was not able to do that. So these were this was the confusion, that what I should do with my psychology training and psychology research was not clear to me, and I didn't want to commit to an in-depth journey before I was clear. So I thought I'll take a break, and Bodhi Tree was Bodhi Tree was growing organically, and it was like it was uh, it was so peaceful to have it was so peaceful to think about this business. I'm not saying that the life of an entrepreneur is very it's not a bed of roses. I'm not saying that, but this was helping me a lot as a young mom, as a psychologist who was struggling with certain conceptual questions. So, yeah, that is the answer. So, I don't know whether you got the answer which you were looking for, but this is my answer.
Yeah. Here in this series, we are exploring why and how people, take up different. I mean, many times our careers don't mold the way we want it to be, but that's not the end.
Yeah.
This series is about that, how people find their ways out, navigate through the life. So this also brings me to my second question, which you partly answered in your response. Is now you're looking back at your PhD with your recent documentary, and you said that you have a book proposal ready. Is it a way of getting back to your PhD? Is it a consciously thought process?
Yeah. See, for me, I think it took me some time to realize that the PhD process was taking a toll on me. And I think my research topic and the method I was using, I have done unstructured, psychoanalytically informed interviews, and I was working on the intimate experience of wedding night and conjugality. So people were giving me uh, very unpleasant narratives, and I was processing them, I was coding them, I was listening to them repeatedly, and I was living with these voices. And only after submitting my thesis that I have realized that they are still with me, the voices were still with me, and I had no clue what to do with it. This documentary was born out of the realization that these voices are important, and these voices I won't be able to express them in a very formal thesis, because the texture of that those voices were very raw and emotionally loaded, affect laden space, and rational thinking still cannot address that affect laden space. I think art is more close to that space. So that's why I took the route of experimental filmmaking, and it's not a story proper documentary, and it's not a proper fiction film. It sits at the interstices of fiction and non-fiction, because it's informed by my doctoral work, but it's not fully, an anthropological work. There are these people's voices. I have even used some parts of the interview transcripts, of course, with permission. I have reproduced it, but it comes in different ways, and it weaves another story. And yes, I think the I took a 2 years. I haven't done anything. I was just living with these voices. I was thinking about it. I was going back to this, and It's only now that the process is clear to me. It took me almost 6 years, and I'm not worried about I don't think I have lost this time. It took me this much time, and it's, I mean, sometimes certain questions take that much time, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. The time that we take for recollecting our thoughts and, to get back at something that we had been doing for years, it actually takes time, and we should not see it as a, time lost. I have another question, my last question. Please tell us about the intricacies of being a soap maker and a documentary filmmaker. You wear many hats. For anyone who would like to pursue any of this path, what are the challenges and the gratification that are associated with this?
Challenges, there are only challenges, okay, but once you are intrinsically motivated, you don't find it as you won't be tired. I mean, that is what I have noticed, that there are so many problems, and especially when you start to, when you convert this into a business, and you are paying salaries and all, you are no longer a hobbyist, you are no longer a single soap maker, you are running an institution, you are running a business. So there are challenges, but once you are convinced of what you're doing, I mean, I know I sound like a motivational speaker. I'm sorry if I sound like that, but that is the most fundamental thing, I think. If you're passionate about it, you won't find the challenges as challenges. I mean, there will be challenges, and every day you will be solving a new set of problems. So you will find it very exciting, and that is applicable to both soap making and documentary filmmaking. And in the case of documentary filmmaking, I think my doctoral training has helped me to move away from the very factual or observational kind of documentary filmmaking, because in social science we usually start the research with the question, what is the field, where is the field, and field for us is something that is getting constituted around the question. So for me, it was that training was helping me, and I would suggest that for documentary filmmaking, I think familiarity with different ways of approaching reality is very helpful, and social science in a way is giving us that training. So I mean, rather than, it's not about technology, which camera you are using, which sound recording equipment you are using, which post-production facility you are using is not really important. What is the story which you want to tell and how you are going to tell is at the end of the day, it there should be some kind of thinking, and that thinking, at the point of thinking, I won't say that for a proper fiction film this helps, but for documentary filmmaking, you need a field, right? You are addressing a question, a set of questions. So for that, our training really helps. So I would suggest that these are two different fields which require two different skill sets. But as a soap maker also, research gives me a lot of transferable skills, I think, that I could take into soap making. For documentary filmmaking also, there is this you get a lot of transferable skills from research. Yeah, that is my answer.
Thank you, Ranjini. We'll take a few questions from the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody who likes to ask a question can raise your hand, or you can type your question in the chat, chat box. I can read it out. Is there any question from anyone?
Hi, Bitasta. This is Samira.
Hi. Yes, Samira, please go ahead.
Hi, Ranjini. Sorry, I'm in office, so I won't put on my video. I couldn't help. I don't know if this is directly connected to, your topic, but I couldn't help ponder about what you said about being in the field and how it's constructed around our question. And I found that very interesting. Could you elaborate a little bit more on how that, you were talking about how it influenced you, that line of thought?
May I know from which location from you are asking this question?
Yes,
Because
sorry, I'm Bitasta's colleague. I'm
no. I'm trying to understand whether you are a science person or a social science person.
Okay. I am trained as an ecologist, but I
Okay.
also dabble in what could fall under social sciences. So, yes.
Yeah, because why I ask this, because in social science discussions we take so many things for granted, but science people used to ask, okay, why do you think so? So I wanted to avoid those questions. That's why. So
Sorry. Actually, it's the other. I feel it's the other way around. I feel like in science we take many things for granted. Uh, like we've had
yeah,
some,
it could,
for example, we have had some discussions on how we go to the field to do research. And that is, that has no, as a scientist you're taught that it's a very objective place where nothing happens,
exactly.
but that is not true. We know that is not true. And I found it really interesting that you, as as a social science background, you're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for me, I mean, my own training, we can actually mark three moments in understanding the field. One is the the positivist moment of science, where you think that there is a field and you can have an objective relationship with it.
exactly, yes.
And second one is the in social science we call it as the self-reflexive moment of, I mean, in anthropology you can see that, and mostly women and black subjects have brought these questions to the table, and they have asked, okay, can you think about your own subjectivity? For instance, a white male talking about a black woman's life. What does he know and what is he bringing to this question? So, in a way, you are bringing your subjectivity to the field, and the subject position of the researcher is also changing the way you are looking at the field. And
Exactly,
the third position, perhaps that is the position which I took, that we are co-constructing the field, and in this process language is our ally. And this is again, I'm drawing from a psychoanalytic kind of feminist engagement, where you can see that you both can see as each other. I mean, the researcher and the subject can see each other as other in language. So when I talk to a woman about her own her life experiences, she is not telling me the truth, and I'm not worried whether she is telling me the truth. My real question is why she is giving me a narrative of herself which she thinks is I should listen to. So the question lies there. I'm not worried about the truth value. So my actual field is, for instance, a woman from Kerala, some 35 or 40 years old, who is into a conjugal relationship for the past 10 or 15 years, is giving me a particular narrative of her intimate experience, and she's definitely avoiding certain things. I mean, there are gaps, there are omissions, and I'm not worried why she is avoiding certain things, but why she is giving me a particular narrative, right? So that says a lot about my field. So this is not a field which is there. This we are co-creating together. So this I went to the field with this understanding.
Right. Thanks so much, Ranjini. I think the reason why I wanted to harp on this a little bit was because I feel like even in science, wherever humans are involved, there is that subjectivity, right? But we want to gloss over it. We want to ignore it. At some level, if whatever science is doing, it is involving society at some level or the other, right?
Yeah, true. I mean, the moment of science itself is erasing subjectivity, right?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
science stands for objective and falsifiable, something that can be reproduced. So
right, but it may not always be as objective as we think it is. That's anyway.
I'm so glad to listen to a scientist talking about subjectivity. Usually we have this difficult dialogue around subjectivity, and almost all scientists think that
we don't want to talk about subjectivity at all. But anyway, I do. So thank you so much for bringing that up, because thank you.
Thank you, Samira, for bringing the important, question and for the discussion. Any more question from the audience? We'll just give 1 minute. If there's no question, we can.
Hey, sorry, Bitasta, it's me again.
Yes,
do you
Samira.
want to share, if you have a website, Ranjini, where you, with Body Tree, do you want to share a link in the chat box, please?
Yeah, it's bodytree.in. I'll just put it in the chat
Thank
box.
you so much.
Yes, it's in the chat box for anyone who would like to visit. So if there is no question, then we'll call it a day, Ranjini.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and talking so candidly about your journey and about the important question that you are, grappling with. And we wish you all the best with all your effort. And we hope to see your book soon so that we can read.
Thank you, Bitasta.
And
I also, this was a rare opportunity to think about my own journey. I have, this is like, you'll never think about it without a push. So thank you for that much needed push.
Thank you, Ranjini. Thank you so much. We'll also, at some point want to screen your documentary. So I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, sure.
Contact.
Thank you all for joining the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.